The ego is the system that runs your sense of self. It is made out of thought patterns, emotions, and behavioral loops, and the stories that try to hold it all together. Left unchecked, it creates endless existential searching, chronic disconnection, and the persistent sense that something is wrong. The goal of my videos is clarity, to see your identity and its contradictions for what they are, named precisely, to finally understand what it is that we're all running away from. It is very popular to talk about determinism, and I think most rationalists and people who are somewhat intellectually minded like the idea of determinism. Like it makes, first of all, scientific sense. Like if everything is just physics, then it makes sense that everything is kind of determined, since the universe is just purely a physical system. But it actually is kind of a lie or a delusion in some sort. And the extent to which it is a lie or a delusion is mostly ignored, because people assume that determinism means that they are not free, that you cannot have determinism and freedom. And I'm not talking about free will in the classical sense, right? I mean, the classical notion of free will is not true, but hardcore determinism is also not how you live your life, like how your life is like at all. Just experientially, you feel like you're making choices, you feel responsible for things, and you feel it's like your life. You sense some ownership towards it. So there's a way you can access true infinite agency where you sense that you're fully in control with your own life. And then from this point of view, you will not feel like everything is just determined. You will feel like a free human being to choose whatever you want to choose. Most things that restrict our freedom are really just conditionings from our environment. If you have been conditioned to not speak up when you're being challenged, well, then you will feel less free. If you have been conditioned to not follow your passion because your passion has been seen as unrealistic or annoying, then you believe you're not free in this way. If you have been conditioned by philosophy to believe that determinism is the factual truth of existence, then in a way you're restricting your own freedom, because you're believing that you don't have agency. And by the fact of not believing you don't have agency, you will behave differently. Now, to tap into true infinite agency, you want to understand what I really mean when I say agency. Because agency, or the idea of classical control, often is an egoic delusion that believes it can control reality in some sort, or it can control its experience. And this sort of control does in fact not exist. And this is why people find so much relief with determinism, because it actually deconstructs a lot of egoic conditioning within them. But real agency exists beyond that, because in actuality, you do not perceive neither free will nor determinism. Both of these words are abstract concepts that your mind is layering over reality, but none of these concepts actually do exist. Like, it's very much conceptual, trying to figure something out. But what you really just have, if we were to boil down your experience into like the most simple component, is movement. Everything moves, and you move within it or through it. And from there, if you want to argue this movement is free or not free, becomes pretty much arbitrary. It doesn't really make sense to make meaning out of the distinction, because you cannot distinguish movement from more movement. It's the same thing. All what we do is we use a human overlay to change our relationship with control. And this both happens in terms of determinism and free will. People use the sense of determinism to also feel more in control, because now they can offload responsibility, or they can also notice that all of their regrets in their past weren't really their fault. It was just how reality has conditioned them. And people use free will in order to put responsibility on other people and tell them that they are the responsible ones for their own actions. And this way we can build like a functioning society by, holding people to their word and punishing them when they do something wrong and all of the stuff. But free will also gives you the sense that you can manifest your own reality, and it's really on you what you do in your life and not some cultural impact or societal issue or cultural issue, but it's really you who have the ability to understanding yourself and understanding how your mind has structured itself to move beyond your addictions and beyond your conditioning and not react towards your emotions all the time. So freedom is found by understanding yourself. If you understand that you are a biological organism, for example, whose decisions is influenced by how much he or she sleeps, well, then you can be more aware of the fact of how well have you slept, how well are you informed about what good sleep means and what is hindering you to sleep well. And then as a consequence, you're going to make better decisions. The same is with the food that you consume, how much you exercise, and all of the stuff. Now, you will likely say, duh, these are like the most common things ever, right? Like it's the most milquetoast self-improvement advice ever. The real difficulty is in how do we actually do this? Like, oh, I'm trying to quit cigarettes for like 5 years now and I'm never actually doing it. Or I'm trying to sleep better and I'm never actually doing it. So to a certain extent, you will feel a bit powerless there, right? Because you have been conditioned in a way, and here's where the determinism component comes in. You've been conditioned in a way where this is just how things were for you. And you might argue that however things are now is not, like it cannot be any different. If right now you are addicted, there's no reality in which this wasn't the case, because this is just the reality that we're finding ourselves in right now. So regret isn't very useful here. Shame just puts you more into this like, stuck feeling. But what you can do is you can really ask yourself, what is it that you actually want? Not what you should do, because should always relates to a sense of restriction. It is something learned, most likely from others, or to a certain extent from your past self. But if it is not what you authentically want, then it's not going to happen. If you should stop smoking cigarettes, if you should lose weight, if you should spend more time on your business, if you should meditate more, as long as there's a should there, you're not going to do it because it's enforcement through something that is not actually authentic to you. And maybe a part of you needs to admit, I want to smoke cigarettes. I want to eat junk food. I want to not work out. I like the way I'm living my life right now. And if this feels wrong to you, if this feels inauthentic, then there underneath you can find a want. Oh, I actually want something else. It's only through finding sincere want that you're changing your life. And when you do what aligns with your wants, you're going to feel free. Now you have removed the conditioning suppressing your sincere desire and putting you in a position of authentic expression. And the moment you're in a position of authentic expression, you're going to be free to do what you want, because there's nothing, not your own biology, not other people, not society, not culture, nothing to tell you what you're supposed to do. To get to the spot, I can help you through my one-on-one service where I analyze people's identities and I figure out what it is they actually want, what it is that is keeping them stuck, and I give them a shift in perspective in order to understand what it is that their soul or their inner will is really guiding them towards. You can find this in the link in the description. There's nothing more important than figuring out what you truly want, because it is where your real self lies. It's where your self-actualization lies. It's authenticity that everybody is really after. And it is authenticity that is so difficult to get towards nowadays, because we are denying ourselves from authentic expression because we are actually scared or ashamed of ourselves. We don't allow ourselves to be who we really are because we are scared we're going to get judged by others because we're not following the shoulds. And oftentimes, this judgment of others is actually inside of us because we have integrated these shoulds so deeply that converting a should to a want is often not possible because they are actually oftentimes not even aligned. What you have to do is you have to deconstruct the should first. You have to figure out, why do I have this should in the first place? And if the reasoning, like, oh, I want to be healthier, and it doesn't actually invoke something emotional within you, well, then nothing's going to change, because you actually do not want it. You're just forcing yourself to want it or wishing you would want it. But it's the cycle of forcing that will always keep you stuck, in the sense of not having control over your body and not having control over your mind. And true freedom is also, what spirituality or enlightenment always sells you. And it's because it is the ability to not be influenced by external stimulation and external influences towards your authentic expression. And your authentic expression often requires no thought at all. It doesn't need planning. It doesn't need a sort of validation from others. It is very freeform and spontaneous and natural, just like a kid that just wants something and then goes for it, instead of having to ponder if it's the right move or not. Now, in existence, there are a lot of risks, right? And we are very scared of the risks that we're taking, because it might be catastrophic for our future. And it is this risk management that constantly tells us that something that we want to do is not safe. And even this is also, conditioning that tells you shouldn't do this because it's dangerous. And to a certain degree, fair, it might actually be dangerous, right? Whatever you do that you actually want will put you into a new identity that is kind of dangerous, right? People don't know you in this way. You don't know yourself in this way. You don't know what is going to happen. So you might want to go into the sense of safety again, which basically is fueled by the sense of lack of agency or determinism, that you have no agency to change, because change would be too risky and you don't want to feel the risk. And here again, the question is, be authentic, be sincere with yourself. Is this really a risk that you're willing to take or not? And most likely, fear is just what is above excitement. And excitement is practical happiness. If you're excited about something, it shows you that there's something more alive underneath that you're wanting to move towards. And it's in this aliveness where your authentic expression and freedom is found. We all just want to be more alive. We all don't want to feel this dull sense of emptiness where you're just living day by day. And I personally find it is way more reasonable to risk your life for something you love doing than living in constant discomfort and fear and dislike for one's own existence just in order to be safe. This safe option is not really safe at all. It's just torturing you with something that is deeply, deeply inauthentic. Once you decondition yourself from all the shoulds that you have, you'll truly find infinite agency.